Each generation thinks they face the hardest challenges. For Gen Z, buying a home is becoming more difficult than ever. Unlike older generations, they are dealing with very high home prices, large student loans, and changing lifestyle preferences.
And affordable housing crisis affecting cities and towns across the country.
U.S. housing shortage has reached 7.3 million homes.
Rent prices rise across the country.
We have an affordability crisis in the United States.
Many young people still want to own a home, but things like the economy, job market, and personal choices are making it hard. By looking at the current housing situation, we can see why owning a home is becoming a far-off dream for many in this generation. In the US, UK, Europe, and other parts of the world, the real estate market has reached a serious point. The blend of strict zoning laws, inflation, and mortgage policies has made homeownership a far dream for many, mostly for Gen Z. Most Gen Z in the US want to own a home someday, or even now. Affordability is the biggest hurdle, according to a survey by Bankrate and YouGov in March. Nearly 75% of American adults see owning a home as a key part of the American dream, more so than retiring, 66%, having a successful career, 60%, or having children, 40%. Only 35% think getting a college degree is a major sign of success. Among Gen Z, 65% see owning a home as a sign of success, while 59% of Gen Z feel the same, with their top choice being a successful career, 60%. The survey included 2,529 adults with 1,397 homeowners. Of the non-homeowners, nearly two-thirds said they couldn't afford a home. Millennials said their income isn't high enough yet, while Gen Z blamed rising home prices. More people would buy homes if they could afford them. Greg McBride, Bankrate's chief financial analyst, stated that non-homeowners cite low income, high home prices, and the inability to afford a down payment or closing costs as the main reasons they haven't bought a house yet. Over the past 2 years, the housing market has been exploding, with home prices rising about 34% since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Although the market has just shown some signs of cooling, homeownership remains a tough goal for younger Americans, specifically due to high student debt and low wages following the Great Recession. In the Bankrate survey, many younger Americans said they were willing to take some form of action to access a cheaper home. In 1972, a modest 3-bedroom semi-detached house in the east of England would have sold for about £9,000. By 1980, the price had risen to around £19,000. By 1984, it was about £40,000, and by 1990, around £50,000. Today, that same house would sell for around £300,000. Over the past 30 years, the UK inflation rate has averaged about 2.6% per year, according to some online sources. Based on inflation alone, the £9,000 house from 1972 should now cost around £35,000, not $300,000. This difference shows that the demand for housing has drastically increased. This explains why it's difficult for young people to buy a house. The high demand for housing is due to a population growth that beats the construction of new homes. As people continue to buy houses, they can afford the higher costs due to gathered wealth, making the UK a victim of its own financial success. Owning a home has long been a cornerstone of the American dream and is one of the most substantial investments many people make in their lifetime. When home prices and interest rates fall, demand usually rises as more people enter the housing market to buy a new home. However, one demographic isn't hastening to achieve this milestone of home ownership, even with today's low interest rates. Many Gen Z are delaying the purchase of their first home. There are several factors contributing to Gen Z delaying homeownership. While some of these reasons are becoming useless as Gen Z starts to gather enough money to afford housing, it's still important to note the historical context. Affordability is a big challenge for Gen Z when it comes to buying a home. Preferably, mortgage payments should not be more than 25% of a homeowner's monthly gross income. If these payments go beyond this percentage, it means the homeowner might be struggling to afford their home. For Gen Z, this is a major issue as the gap between home values and income levels continues to grow. The National Association of Realtors provides a home affordability index to measure this challenge. In January 2020, this index rose above $100. Back in 2015, the index was at 109.3, but it dropped to as low as 92.5 in 2018. An index value of 100 means that a family with an average income has just enough money to afford a median-priced home. However, since this index is a national average, it doesn't indicate the variations in affordability across different areas. Some regions are more affordable than others, making it possible for people in those areas to buy homes more easily. For Gen Z, this means that buying a home can be very difficult, especially in expensive cities where home prices are very high compared to their income levels. Many young people are finding it hard to save enough for a down payment while also covering their living expenses like rent, food, and transportation. Another reason why homeownership is becoming gradually more difficult for Gen Z is the trend of delaying marriage and partnerships. In 2018, fewer than 60% of individuals aged 25 to 34 lived with a spouse or partner, compared to 80% in 1967. People are now marrying later, with the average age of marriage at 27.8 for women and 29.8 for men, according to 2018 data from the U.S. Census Bureau. The average age for a first-time mother is 26, according to the Centers for Disease Control, although this age is higher for college-educated women and those living in urban areas. As marriage and childbirth are gradually delayed, Gen Z is staying with their parents longer and postponing the purchase of their first home. Bank of America emphasizes that life events like marriage or having children often encourage home buying. As Gen Z remain at home with their parents or live independently for longer periods, home ownership tends to be delayed. In fact, the percentage of Gen Z living at home or with relatives rose to 22.5% in 2018, a 9 percentage point increase since 2005. One major factor is the location of jobs. In recent years, employment opportunities have gradually concentrated in large cities rather than being equally distributed between rural and urban areas. Until recently, Gen Z flocked to major cities like Los Angeles and New York because that's where the jobs were. Buying a home in a city is difficult due to the occurrence of high-rises over single-family homes. However, in the past 2 years, many Gen Z have been moving from Tier 1 cities to Tier 2 cities like San Francisco, Boston, Orlando, and Austin. These cities are normally more affordable and family-friendly apart from San Francisco. The housing market has also become difficult for Gen Z to buy homes because of stricter lending rules. Banks now require better credit and focus on a 20% down payment. With home prices rising, saving for this large down payment is harder for young people. Bank of America points out that many individuals at this time, aged 25 to 34, began their careers during the financial crisis and the early stages of the economic recovery, when the job market was unbalanced. While some mortgage affordability programs offer loans with less than a 20% down payment, these loans often come with advanced interest rates to ease the increased risk of default. Most of these loans demand private mortgage insurance, which further increases monthly payments. Another significant reason why it's hard for Gen Z to buy homes is the high cost of living. Many young people live in cities where rent is very expensive. For example, a studio or one-bedroom apartment can cost over $1,500 a month, and in some expensive cities, it can be more than $2,000. If you want to buy a house near a top city, the price for a simple home can be around $1 million. When you add up the cost of rent, food, and commuting, it's difficult for Gen Z to save enough money for a down payment by age 20. Because of these high costs, many Gen Z individuals are leaving big cities and moving to smaller ones or to the borders where homes are more affordable. This way, they can find cheaper places to live, making it easier to save money and ultimately buy a home. By choosing these more affordable areas, they hope to manage their expenses better and work towards their goal of home ownership. One major reason why buying a house has become nearly economically impossible for Gen Z is the burden of student debt. By early 2020, student debt in the US had reached nearly $1.6 trillion, forming a major hurdle for Gen Z looking to enter the housing market. This generation is also facing partial wage growth and restrained salary rises in many sectors, which adds further difficulty to paying their loans. According to the National Association of Realtors, over 50% of homebuyers under the age of 36 reported that student debt has paused their home purchasing plans. A guess from Apartment List proposed that while college graduates without student debt needed about 7.6 years to save for a 20% down payment in 2018, those with student loans required more than 4 extra years to reach the same savings goal. Gen Z is gradually moving to cities. According to Pew Research in 2018, 88% of Gen Z live in metropolitan areas. The reason for this urban migration is the abundance of career opportunities. Cities are often centers for industries, offering a variety of job options and career advancement possibilities that are less widespread in rural areas. The concentration of businesses, startups, and multinational corporations in urban centers makes them striking destinations for young professionals getting to establish and grow their careers. This urban invasion has caused increasing rental prices in metropolitan areas. Cities on average have a higher proportion of renters compared to homeowners, and the increased demand for rental properties has driven up costs. This makes it hard for Gen Z to afford to live in popular city areas, but many still prefer renting instead of buying a home because it's more flexible. Renting lets them move easily for new job opportunities, avoid long-term commitments, and skip the financial burden of owning a home. Lifestyle choices also influence why Gen Z is prolonging homeownership. Many young people in this generation prefer to enjoy their child-free years and travel often. This lifestyle can involve moving to different cities to experience new places and cultures. For example, some Gen Z might move from the East Coast to Los Angeles for a few years just to experience life in a different part of the country. Gen Z values the freedom that comes with having fewer assets and not being tied down by a large real estate investment. Owning a home means having to deal with maintenance, repairs, and the responsibility of a mortgage. Instead, they choose the flexibility of renting, which allows them to move more easily and explore new opportunities. This yearning for freedom and flexibility makes renting more attractive than buying a home. Job insecurity also plays a massive role in why Gen Z finds it hard to buy homes. In the past, people often spend their entire careers at one company, but those days are gone. Now, slow wage growth and a frequently changing job market mean that Gen Z often must look for new job opportunities or risk being laid off. Because of this, they might only live in one city for a few years before having to move again for work. This vagueness makes many Gen Z uncertain to buy a home since they don't know how long they'll stay in one place. Buying a home is a big commitment, and with the probability of needing to move for a better job or due to job cuts, it doesn't always make sense for them to invest in a property. Renting allows them to be more open and move more easily when new opportunities arise. This job insecurity and the need for flexibility make homeownership less attractive for many young people in today's economy. The ability to travel and experience new places is very important to many in Gen Z. They want the freedom to pick up and move without the burden of selling a house. This lifestyle choice sides with their values of flexibility and adventure, making them more likely to rent rather than buy a home. After a market crash, home prices might drop, making it easier for first-time buyers and people without inherited money to buy homes. Challenges like stricter lending rules and economic issues could still make buying a home difficult for many. Lower home prices might make it easier for more people to afford homes, possibly leading to a general range of individuals entering the housing market. Economic recovery measures, such as government incentives and positive lending conditions, could further support homeownership. On the other side, a market crash could also lead to economic uncertainty, job losses, and tighter credit conditions, which might make it harder for some people to secure mortgages or save for down payments. The overall impact would vary depending on individual circumstances and the broader economic environment. The general effect will depend on the speed of the market recovery and the broader economic situation. Crossing the path to home ownership has always been tough, and today's market is specifically challenging for Gen Z. With high home prices, big student loans, and changing lifestyle choices, many young people are struggling to buy a home. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. Thanks for watching.